I traveled over 180 miles by train, plane, bus, and Uber, all for a jar of pickles. Why? Because they're my favorite pickles. You see, I was introduced to Claussen Pickles when I was 17 years old, back visiting my extended family for the first time. I just graduated high school. Down in the basement, I was helping make delicious Caesar. And out from the mini fridge, my second uncle pulls out this jar and he says, "These are the best pickles you'll ever eat." Cracks the top, gives me a pickle. I bite into it. Angels sing. Heaven. These are delicious pickles. Fast forward years later to around the pandemic, I find Claussen Pickles in my local grocery and I can't help but be excited. I'm buying them every time we're going grocery shopping, indulging in this delicious kosher pickle. And I should say right here, I'm not sponsored in any way to make this video. Claussen doesn't know I'm making this video, but they know my love for them. They even follow me on Instagram. Subtle flex. Now, one day, the grocery store that I would usually go to didn't have Claussen Pickles. So I'd have to go to a different grocery store. Then eventually that grocery store stopped carrying them. And over time, every grocery store in my city stopped carrying these pickles. And I began the pickle drought. That was until this past weekend, where I was going down into Seattle with my girlfriend to see Chris Delia at the McCall Hall. Now, I knew even if in Canada we were out of these pickles, Seattle would have them. And I was going to do anything and everything in my power to come back over the border with this jar of pickles. Now, usually you can just take a boat from Victoria to Seattle. It's a couple of hours. Unfortunately for us, it was not tourist season, so they're not running that service, which means we have to go the long way around. We got to take a boat over to Vancouver and come down through a bus service to Seattle. Now, the bus down from Vancouver to Seattle is actually really smooth. There were some fender benders in Seattle. I had no idea because our driver, John, was an absolute angel, keeping us updated through the little microphone and the speakers about where we were when we were getting to the border, cracking a couple of jokes here and there. Now, because we were in Seattle with Canadian money, it's basically the equivalent of having Monopoly money. It's just not worth a lot, which means we have to be very cautious with our spending. I knew that I wanted two things when I went down there no matter what, and it was a t-shirt from the stand-up comedy show and the pickles. What would be the price of all that once I have to pay for duties over the border? I have no idea, but I'm factoring everything in mind while I'm spending. And I should be relaxing. This was a birthday gift vacation type deal, but I was too focused on those two things. The best part about the McCall Hall is down the road from it is a QFC. And at QFC were Claussen Pickles. So we get to the show, I buy the t-shirt instantly. Everybody was in line for booze when they got into the door. I have no idea why they weren't in line for merch. Whatever, easy transaction for me, in and out 5 minutes, boom, don't push me. The McCall Hall was sold out. So when the show was over, I was trying to scooch and shimmy my way through the entire crowd because I knew I needed to get to QFC's fast. I had no idea when it closed. I had no idea how many people might be going there. And I didn't have any idea of the stock of Claussen Pickles. Now, if you don't know Claussen Pickles, you don't know that they're only in the refrigerated section. You don't find them with your other pickles. They're in the fridge section. It's what makes them so elite because when you get home from the grocery store, you can crack that jar open, crunch, and have the delicious, chillest pickle ever. Who likes a warm pickle, right? We're making our way down the street to QFC. I'm speed walking, essentially, wiggling my little hips, doing my little diddly dance because I want to make sure I get there before it closes. I want to make sure that I can get there because this is what I've been waiting for. We get into QFC and it's huge. 3 levels? I've never seen this in my life. We get down, we go to the deli section because usually you can find them there, like with the fancy cheeses and the salamis. And I look in the fridge section. There's a bunch of refrigerated pickles, but no Claussens. Instantly, my heart sinks. There's no way. They're out of stock too. Are they anywhere? Will I ever find them again? Am I about to cry in the middle of a grocery store that I don't know because I can't find these pickles as a grown man? Maybe. And as I drag my feet with each step, thinking I'm defeated, there's no pickles, I catch a little glimmer, bottom row, that green lid. And as I get closer, I start to see more of the logo. I start to see the reds hit. I start to see the formation of the one word I'm hoping for, Claussen. And there they were. Slim pickings left, a couple of small jars, a couple of medium jars, and only one more massive jar. The same jar that I was introduced to this pickle when I was 17, now in my own hands. We don't get this where I'm from. So I'm over the moon to have this slice of heaven, this spear of heaven. And as tempting as it was to pay for it instantly and crack the jar and gobble down some pickles that night, I know we still have to get back over the border the next day. I have to be patient and I have to be strong. So knowing that we're taking a bus back up, I formulate a plan to keep the care package safe. Brought a duffel bag down. I'm stuffing clothes on one side, clothes on the other side. We brought down a towel. I wrapped the pickles in the towel, squish it in between. So that way it's got towel insulation. It's got soft things on each side to cushion any blow back in the bus when it's under there rolling around. Now the bus ride back up was not smooth or nice. The first hour, 4 lanes of highway traffic down to 1. And our bus driver is having a grand old time, like one of those rodeo rides that you see at country bars, you know, bucking and whiling around. That's what he does to the bus. Now, usually I don't get car sick, but the problem for me is right as I got on the bus, I eat a full serving of bagels and lox, and I'm getting sweaty. I'm getting cold. My stomach is ready to bring up all of that seafood and cream cheese and bagel. I think I'm gonna hurl before I even get a chance to make it to the border. And just as I was about to give up and go to the little bathroom in the bus and just accept my fate that I'm gonna be the guy that barfs on the bus and makes a big stinky mess, we hit open highway. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about the pickles. I didn't really compensate for front back sort of motion. I went side to side. I patted long ways on the bag, not short ways as much. So I'm a little concerned about the state of my pickles. When you cross the border, you have to take all of your stuff out and go through TSA. And that brings me to my second concern, is I don't quite know the regulations of pickles going over the border. You know, there's certain foods you're not allowed to take over. And my fear started to set in when we get into TSA and they don't have an x-ray machine. They have a sniffer dog named Bolt. And I think Bolt is gonna find my pickles. Bolt starts making his way through every person. Sniff, 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 sniff. And I'm fully expecting Bolt to sit next to us, tip us off that he smelled my delicious pickles and they're gonna take these pickles away from me and I don't get to eat them, and I'm gonna feel sad that I didn't crack them open early just to make sure that I got a taste, and that Border Patrol is just gonna have a fine dining experience when I'm gone, being like, this idiot tried to bring pickles back home. Crack, crunch, 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 crunch. Bolt is now one person away from us, and when he smells that person, he sits. So the guy who has the dog starts talking to that guy. I think, maybe we dodged a bullet here. Just as he finishes talking to that guy, he stands up. Bolt comes over to us, and I think this is it. I close my eyes and I cross my fingers and toes. And I'm like Harry Potter. The first time he's getting a hat on him, he's like, please don't say Slytherin. Please don't say Slytherin. After Bolt sniffs, he doesn't sit. He moves on. Only one more stop left. The guy that's going to look at our declaration. He asks us all the usual questions like, how long were you gone for? What did you do? What do you guys do for work? Looks at our declaration, says, welcome home, and sends us on our way. And I thought, no duties? I take the duffel bag. I feel around to make sure it's not wet, and it isn't, which is good news, but it is still wrapped in a towel. So I'm not 100% positive that the package is safe, but I put it back in and I switch the direction. Instead of it being like this in the cabin, I switch it to like this. By the time we get home, I open the duffel bag and unwrap my prize. The thing that I was most excited for, the thing that I haven't had in years. And just in one day, I traveled over 150 miles, 10 hours, one case of almost throwing up, sweating and praying at the border. And what am I rewarded with? The most delicious slice of heaven. Piece of nostalgia and something that I just enjoy. And it's the little things that I've learned that are important to enjoy. And yes, even though this was probably a $20 jar of pickles, it's worth it. Because every time I open this jar, eat a pickle, I get a little reprieve from the world. I get a moment to enjoy. And I also get a chance to think of this story, going down to Seattle and all the fun that I had. Now, if you already see, I've eaten quite a bit of them in just less than a week. And although part of me wants to savor them and make sure I just sparingly eat them, dude, it's so fucking good. Oh my god, that's the story. That's it. That's all. Go watch another video. Holy, I'm gonna need so many more. I'm gonna die if I have to go without these again. They're so good. If you know where I can get these in Canada, please tell me. If you can ship them, I'll pay for them. making a mess. Okay, bye. See you later.